welcome everyone. As the introduction suggests, I'm Dauphinee. I'm with the Wise Marketer Group. For those of you who are unfamiliar with us, we publish the Wise Marketer. We're an educator through the Loyalty Academy. And then, of course, as of launch this particular year, we're now a research and advisory firm also. So enough about us, though. Let's get to the panelists and talk a little bit more about them. And as Phil kind of stole my thunder a little bit, we're going to talk about how brands are loyal to their customers in a way that is about reciprocity, right? And goes beyond the basics of your loyalty programs, rewards, and points mechanisms, but actually talks about other factors that lead into that loyalty component. And so I have three senior marketers here with us. You've just already met Claudia. She was on stage giving a great presentation at the onset, but I'll introduce Pam and Reid in just a second. But first, I won't go into a whole lot of detail about Claudia because you've already spoke, but for those of you who don't know her background, nearly 3 decades as a hospitality professional, I know.
Everyone has three.
Three numbers. For the first part, or a good chunk of it, 10 plus years with Hard Rock International, right? Focusing on revenue and their data and technology strategy, and then came over to Margaritaville for the last, 7 plus years?
Yeah, almost
perfect.
8.
And then again, as she's mentioned, she's in charge of revenue there, technology, and then all things loyalty as well. So that's Claudia. We don't know as much about Pam at Navy Federal Credit Union, one of the largest credit unions in the nation, if I understand correctly. 14 million members under her belt with 180 billion in assets that you manage, right? Pam's been at Federal Navy basically looking after their focus on their brand story around being an unsurpassed membership program. So that's a bit of a nuance in terms of how we look at things, which is great. And prior to that, going to the client side, she spent 25 plus years on the agency side. So she gives both perspectives, client and agency, and she worked on CPG and finance brands. So two sectors that are kind of, certainly finance has long-standing been in loyalty, but CPG is a new entrant into the mix. So last thing, as you get to know people, you do a pre-session, and Pam shared with me, because I'm also a runner, that she never passes up a chance to run herself, and has recently hit a milestone, which is to run a marathon in all 50 states of the nation. So kudos to Pam. Yeah. And then last but not least, of course, we have Reid Maker, who is the general manager of Microsoft Rewards. And so one of the things that I love about Reid is he's been with Microsoft for almost 20 plus years, right? 2004 started with the Bing team, right? 2009 moved into the Bing team, but 2004 with Microsoft. And then self-proclaimed software engineer into growth engineer. What a great title in terms of how we think about loyalty and moving on. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Microsoft Rewards, it is their consumer loyalty program where you can earn status and points for a variety of different actions. You can earn it for search on Bing, you can earn it for playing on Xbox or on your PC. You can make purchases, obviously, through the Microsoft Store. And by and large, he's going to talk a little bit more about that. But 3 very unique models with franchisee membership and then certainly a Microsoft Rewards enterprise play that we're going to talk about. So enough about them. Let's get into some specifics of their thoughts and details, which is, and we'll start with you, Claudia, just because you happen to be to my left. You talked at the onset in your presentation about this walk to emotional loyalty. That's right in the sweet spot of what we want to talk about, moving beyond points and rewards-based elements. Can you talk a little bit about what some of the key drivers are? For us, we know the loyalty drivers in traditional loyalty programs, but when you're moving beyond that, what are some of the key drivers that you look for at Margaritaville to espouse loyalty?
We focus a lot on engagement and kind of participation on the non-transactional aspects of the loyalty program, right? So like I said, on these campaigns, for example, that we run with our social dispersion tool, we focus a lot on that. So a guest is able to, or a member uploads a photo and says, oh, I got my perks or whatever. We have different ways of putting the contest out there. But they basically put that out there, and then they have to garner votes to get that photo to be liked or to be voted on so that they can win the prize. So it's a game of skill, not chance. And so therefore, their friends have to get involved in their friends' victory, So it's more about the engagement of that guest talking to alike and like audiences. And obviously, as friends, we all like our friends and we gossip about our friends and what they're doing and where they're going and why they're getting what they're getting. And so it's more about that. We focus a lot on that interaction and in that kind of injection of energy to the program. Obviously, we follow all the other numbers, right? Whether it's visitation or visits to the website, all of those things are tracked. But not everything has to leave a transaction behind. Sometimes it's just interaction. We have a 96% opening rate on our emails and almost 8% click-through.
That's amazing.
On all of our offers in loyalty. So for us, that number alone is one that we want to be very, very careful. We don't overwhelm our guests with emails. We are very, very careful about how we engage with the guests to make sure that the offer that goes out or that email that goes out carries value and that guest is actually enticed to.
That's
to click
amazing.
through. So
I'm gonna
we're very careful.
expand a little bit more on this because when you talk about Margaritaville, you talk about it being a lifestyle brand, right? That and fun and escapism come together, but you're talking about social connection as well too. Like how do you tie the two together? If I'm looking for fun, is it because you have that power of connectivity to other members, or does it happen individually?
I think it's a little bit of both. We have communities across our brand that sit in different pockets, right? So we have the people that are our hotel guests, and they have their own Facebook groups, and they have a lot of kind of interaction amongst them. We have 3 communities of lifestyle, resort-style communities for 55 and better. Or that's what we call them anyway, 55 and better. They call themselves Latitudians because they live in Latitude by Margaritaville, which is the name of these communities. We have 3 of them. 2 of them have about 6,000 to 8,000 homes each.
Wow.
The last one that is being built right now will have 140,000 homes once it's finished, and it's in Florida. So these people call themselves Latitudians. They have, again, this little group of users that they communicate amongst themselves. They take trips together. They go on cruise ships together. They go cruising with Margaritaville. They buy things. They have like their own merchandise lines that they want to have. They actually want to have a cemetery that is called Fins Down, which we haven't approved yet. True story. So,
yes.
But anyway, so that those social pockets are, for us, are a little bit of those advocacy groups that I was talking about, where we kind of pay attention to what they're saying, pay attention to what they want, pay attention to what they are focusing on, so that we can hone in on that and kind of make it about the social piece and the community piece.
I love that, and to build on that, let's actually jump over to Pam, because running a membership-based program, there must be a sense of connectivity and community that comes from running that. Maybe you can talk a bit about the key drivers that come from that type of orientation around loyalty that's membership-focused.
I will, but it's very hard to follow Claudia. Like, we're not giving out margaritas or chips or anything fun. For us it is, and you said this in the introduction, we have 14.5 million members. We're the largest credit union in the world. We were founded to serve 91 years ago by 7 sailors. And when you think about the growth beyond that, it's easy to think about how active duty is connected to each other because they're all serving and they all sign commitments to serve. That said, they're the smallest part of our membership.
Oh, really?
Our membership, we think about it in battlegrounds as terms of, active duty, their spouses, and then battleground 3 for us is our veterans. And then 4 is their families that are all eligible. And what I really find is really amazing and interesting to me is, as a brand, active duty gets paid first. We advance their pay. I think if you are not active duty, you see that in the branch, there's some scenarios where you would go, that's not fair. Other people go, hallelujah, I think it's great that you get paid early. You're willing to get shot at for our country. So, for us, it's that sense of community for the brand, and what do they share? We talk about value and values, but the shared values is really what makes the community strong, because the core of it is a small part of our membership. Phil mentioned it earlier, our tagline is our members are the mission. And we literally operationalize around that in everything we do. What is the member lens? What is the member saying to this? What's the member feedback? It also affects some of the metrics we don't measure. For example, our member base, we answer about 1 million calls a week. And what does anybody want to guess the metric we don't measure? how long you're on the phone. Because the call ends with, anything else I can help you with? And I sat in on calls. Everybody on Management Council sits in on calls or does branch visits once a month. And I did mine last month. And at the very end, this elderly gentleman said, yes, I do have one more question. Do you know if the post office still sells stamps? And, I'm sitting there going, oh my God. And the member service rep literally, like everybody else, is pulling up her browser and Googling, does the post office still sell stamps? And she's like, actually, they do. And I'm going to send you the link right now. And hangs, he's happy, she's happy. Obviously, we're not in the stamp selling business, not like there's anything in that for us. But he left feeling like he was answered, he was heard. That probably took her an extra 32 seconds on the phone. But in terms of what it does for the relationship, it's fabulous.
Wonderful.
So part of it, like I said, I would just challenge everybody to kind of think about what are the things that you measure that may have an unintentional consequence taking away from some of that loyalty.
I love that about extending into different things that your people can do for the actual member or customer. Reid, you've got a program that is actually talking about doing different activities and behaviors that earns you points. People can search, they can browse, they can play, they can purchase like traditional. Maybe you can talk a little bit about Microsoft Rewards in terms of how that program is driving behavior for the big bad Microsoft, but also specifically what are the key drivers of that more mainstay loyalty program, but doing it in different behaviors to earn those points and rewards.
Sure. Microsoft Rewards is a little bit different from most other programs out there. Like, we're mostly engagement-based, which means like when you use our products, you earn points and status, not necessarily when you spend money with us.
Exactly.
We do that too, but it's a much smaller part of our business. So like searching on Bing is by far our biggest, playing on Xbox is number 2, browsing on Edge, reading articles on MSN. We're doing like countless daily activities that are really kind of fun that we put out for our users. Now, that is also interesting from a fraud perspective, but that's a whole other conversation. In terms of redemptions, people can spend their points on thousands of gift cards all around the world. Cool partner offers. I'm hoping that we can get some offers from some of you in our redemption catalog. And then also people can donate their points. We've seen a ton of donations, about $23 million in the lifetime of the program thus far. And then we do cool sweepstakes where it's like, ooh, really custom Xbox or $5,000 prize, or we just completed $1 million sweepstakes, which was our biggest that we've ever done.
Wow.
We're in the process of vetting the winner right now. Fingers crossed, we'll announce that.
You did say $1 million.
$1 million.
That must be unheard of. I don't think anyone's doing that type of a promotion at that level across the industry. That's amazing.
It was quite successful. The ROI was there in many factors, and we're definitely going to do repeat huge sweepstakes in the future. Now, from a customer perspective, the odds were like 20x better than a typical lottery,
okay.
Which is just really kind of cool.
That's amazing.
From a overall business perspective, like we're in every single market we can possibly be in. We are worldwide, obviously, except for the U.S. embargo markets, and so we're looking forward to world peace so we can move into all markets.
That's good. There you go. When we were doing our prep, one of the things we delved into was actually how the organization starts to support the loyalty program. And certainly when you're talking about going beyond the traditional loyalty program, you're getting into the brand elements and customer experience, you have to have alignment across the organization to be able to actualize this. So maybe this is open to all three of you, but so go at your own pace of how you want to answer. But what's it take to get that organizational alignment around this construct of loyalty, big L loyalty, if you will, versus programmatic loyalty?
It's a great question. I will tell you, too, when I know Phil from Atlanta, so we go way back, and when he called me, I said, I may not be a good person because we don't really have a loyalty program. We are really more about what drives loyalty and engagement to the brand, and our program is really specific to credit card points, so maybe I'm not your person. He's like, no, you are my person because of that. And I think sometimes that's happened. We've all gotten into loyalty like we had to pay for it. We had to give people points. We had to keep doing that versus earning it with service, which for us. When we look at our brand tracker, which we do twice a year, and I love Claudia's recommendation on really do the research, because what people say and then what they really do and then what they show you, sometimes there's a disconnect. So you want to make sure, we call it listen loudly, and listening across all three of those channels, three of those ways. So we look at what drives loyalty, and our credit card rewards program, which is good and competitive and fabulous, is lower on the list. What drives loyalty is understands me, or is for people like me, low rates, 24/7 stateside call service. I mean, it's down there in terms of the program. So what we do is really share that data. Here's what really makes people happy with our brand. Here's what drives the engagement. And then one of the things that Navy Federal started way before I was here, but I think it's a huge employee motivator. We have 24,000 employees. We all drink the Kool-Aid. We actually make the Kool-Aid. So we all know how important this is, how important it is to how we treat our members and guests in terms of getting them to come back. It's operationalized, though, by those 24,000 people. So we have an incentive program called our PIP, Performance Incentive Program. How creative is that? The military loves acronyms. Every full-time employee is eligible for a bonus year in based on member satisfaction. So every month when we're publishing the numbers, people know what they are. So whether I'm answering the phone or working in the cafeteria, I know what those numbers are, and I'm like, what can I do for you to help in terms of satisfaction? And that is a really powerful way to operationalize it, because everybody shares in that incentive. People know what the number is. They actually care about the research, which before that, no one comes to the brand marketing presentations. But when they find that what's in it for them is part of their compensation, and every full-time employee is eligible for that, it really does back up the point that the North Star is about our member satisfaction, not about a specific program.
Great. Reid, Microsoft, large organization, different silos that the different products serve in. How does that integration happen in your organization? And are there different definitions in different silos, or is it one unique definition of loyalty across the enterprise?
Wow. Microsoft has several loyalty programs, really trying to consolidate. Like, our origins are Bing Rewards, which started circa 2009, 2010. We merged with Xbox Rewards, but there's still a few other ones out there.
Right.
We just have to be incredibly data-driven. We love experimentation. We love showing off our fun metrics. Like, here's normal users, here's Microsoft Rewards users. Huge difference in terms of retainment, DAO, revenue, ROI, whatever that particular product unit is interested in, what are those KRs? Here's how we can help.
Perfect. And last but not least, Claudia, in terms of enterprise integration, how does it work in Margaritaville? A little bit tightly bound, because Jimmy Buffett kind of set the stage, even though with his passing, but the next leadership level, how do they work together?
We have a few metrics and a few kind of levers that we pull, right? I think Pam is right on the money. You have to get your line staff involved, because they're ultimately the ones that are facing the guests and that are delivering that experience. So for us, it's all about training. It's all about spending time with our teams. And right now we are able to visit the properties and work with the front desk agents and help them kind of deliver the program. As we get larger, as we get bigger, that becomes a little more challenging. So right now, that's actually one of the things we are operationalizing through technology. We're putting in a new learning management system so that it allows us to deliver content faster. We use an app to engage our staff, and so we use an app called Nudge. So we have a specific group for loyalty updates, and so they get to go in and post questions or get answers. And so it's a lot of finding out how we can quickly deliver updates in a fun way for our staff. Because by the way, our staff, they're there because they love the job. They want to be a fun person to talk to. So we have to also work with the deliverability of that content being fun and engaging, not only for the guests, but also for the staff.
Interesting. I actually had another question about what are the core metrics that you kind of measure as well too, but this group's so great that they kind of flesh that out as they talk through. So in the interest of me talking less, I think let's turn the tables to the audience here, because we've got three great brands. I'm sure you have a number of questions, and we've got enough time to answer across all of them. So any questions for the group? One right here.
Great variety of brands and different business models, so thank you for coming together. One of the questions that many brands struggle with when establishing or reinventing their loyalty program is the build versus buy choice and decision. And specifically for Reid, your business is very different, very global, tech-oriented company, and also, an engagement over spend as the reward. So what metric would you recommend a brand think about when they're making that decision of build versus buy?
Oh man, really it has to come down to the fundamentals of how much is this going to cost for you to go build it, how much is it going to cost for you to buy it. We do everything custom in-house ourselves. Like our services, everything Microsoft Rewards related, like we peak at 125,000 requests per second. We take traffic from Bing, Windows, Edge, MSN, Xbox. Like we're at scale much more than any of those other things that I just mentioned, which is pretty impressive. We didn't have a choice just because of the scale that we operate at, but I don't know. Really, it's about like, is it worth your time to go build versus is there something off the shelf that you can go get?
And Claudia, I didn't mean to exclude you guys. Obviously, it's a very unique position, but if you guys have something to add to.
For us, building is not an option. We are a small brand. We are, or actually, let me rephrase that. We're a very big brand. We're a very small team. So my team is all in. There's like 8 people in it. So we work, talk about strapping it and like being like boots on the ground type of thing. So, you see us half of the time, digging the ditches ourselves. So building is not an option for us. We don't have the resources that Microsoft would have. That being said, we have the passion and the partners that we work with, and we are very intentional about who we partner with. The goal for us is never to find a vendor, is to find a partner. And so we are very, very intentional about that. We bring our partners into not only the business, but the culture of Margaritaville, and we try to embed into them our brand promise as part of their deliverable. So it's one of the things that I think we do well.
Pam, anything to add?
And I will say we've been on a journey. The history of Navy Federal was about build it, because everybody, and even the business units were like, well, this won't work for auto lending because it works great for mortgage. And so we had a silo farm. I don't know if anybody else here came from financial services, but we had done lots of those things that we built. So much so that, and this gentleman's retired, so I can tell this story. As we said, I came from the agency side, and I'm in a meeting, and somebody was like, oh yeah, that's Frankware. And I'm literally Googling like Frankware. And I'm thinking this is a platform I'm not familiar with. And then I realized it's Frank who sits next to me.
Built the software, yeah.
Who built it, and people would go in line and see Frank and get something built. So we're migrating from that to a lot more about buying. And we have found that it is for us, and I know I'm sitting next to Microsoft as I say this, the cost comparison difference really for us has been on the integration side. The buying, it makes it easier to integrate across platforms, even though you can build sometimes cheaper, but maybe not more efficient because of the integration side. So, and Frank has retired, so you can't call him anymore to get anything built.
Perfect.
Joining the Fins Down Club someday. By the way,
Everybody's welcome.
I totally support that name. You should give it to them. Do not hold back.
I went back to my CEO with it, and he just looked at me. He goes, no. Just walked away. So
Perfect.
You need to come to a few more shows.
that's where he drew the line. Yes.
You're gonna take the tie off.
We've got about 90 seconds, so we'll do a quick one last question over here.
Great chat, everyone. We'd be curious to know about your thoughts on gamification of rewards and hyper-personalization. So that if my wife and I go to Margaritaville or Microsoft, we both sign up and get different perks or different customer journeys to peak rewards. Just general question.
One thing I'll say fast is know your customer. During COVID, I thought everybody was sad and needed a birthday card, so we sent birthday cards to 14 million members. And we got a good chunk back saying, flag on the play on privacy. Used my information to send me something that wasn't related to business. What did you do? And then we did a little bit of the profile of those folks. We realized they all belonged to the same segment who had very high privacy concerns. So I think the personalization, you got to do enough that shows I know you, but don't be creepy. The problem is everybody's creepy line is different.
Right.
I was so happy that somebody sent me a birthday card that I bank with, but other people felt that was over the line.
Real quick from the other two.
For us, we've done superficial personalization for a really long time, but LLMs are changing everything. And so like deep personalization for you based on what you like, what we know about you is real, it's happening. If you're not looking at LLMs, you should be.
We do have an LLM that is working on the choices that you get when you're picking your perks and understands kind of what you picked last time and what you looked at and all of that. At the end of the day, though, we are very, very stingy on privacy. And so we are very careful about what we do as hyper-personalization. We by no means want our guests to feel that we are tracking their every move, because that's not who we are as a brand. We want them to be comfortable, feeling that they can trust us with their data, they can trust us with their preferences. And it's all about actionable data at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what the guest is doing and what they are injecting into your data models if your people that are operationalizing your loyalty program are not looking at it. And I will do a really quick example, and I've said this many times. I stayed for 70 times in this particular hotel brand, and it was my 70th stay, and they gave me an upgrade, and it was amazing, and they put me up in a suite, and I walked in, and I had a basket that had a bottle of wine, and then 3 little containers. One had like almonds, the other one had chocolate, and the other one had raspberries. Had they read my profile in this particular hotel chain, they would have known that I never, ever have I ever ordered a glass of wine. Not ever. I don't drink wine. I'm allergic to almonds. I don't like chocolate, so I had 3 raspberries. And my point is, had they left 2 beers and a bag of Doritos, I would have been I would have been so happy. So pay attention and operationalize your data enough that the people that are delivering that service actually know what they're looking at. So
That might be one of the best examples to leave on for personalization, is to pay attention to what your customer is actually telling you
Yes.
and act upon it. So thank you, Claudia, Reid, and Pam, so much for this presentation. I think we're ahead to network break now.
you guys.
Phil?
Yeah, this was